I am in a race against time to catch a flight from Kigali, Rwanda to Lagos, Nigeria. The only issue is that I'm currently in Uganda. I spent a day in Kampala but unfortunately failed to book my bus ticket on time. I just found out that I cannot board a bus to Kigali and my flight leaves Rwanda in 16 hours. I cannot afford to miss this flight. I planned poorly by not booking my ticket on time, and this mistake might cost me hundreds of dollars to fix if I miss this flight. I left my friend's apartment bright and early and headed to the Trinity bus terminal. We arrived just in the nick of time and I thought I made it. Unfortunately, the bus was fully booked and I was devastated. I went next door to the Jaguar terminal and the story was the same. Both companies were almost ready to head on out and the clock was ticking against me at this point. A random man offered to take me where I can get a bus. I was naturally wary and this fella did not look to be in the best mental condition. I was desperate enough to follow him. We got to a makeshift bus park across the road in front of a petrol station. There was a bus there and the people said the bus was going to the Gatuna Border with Rwanda. Immediately, I became more hopeful. The bus driver assured me that his final destination was the border. I got in and mentally prepared my mind. I didn't get a Ugandan SIM, so I was forced to interact with the real world. It's no longer the norm in most parts of my country, but drivers put luggages on top of vehicles. They had a structure fastened to the top and tied the bags on it. My excitement slowly turned into anger because it took forever for the bus to fill up. I mentally begged everyone that came near the bus to enter. I spent the time updating my Snapchat fam, even though they didn't see the snaps until hours later when I got to Rwanda. The bus fare was 60,000 Ugandan shillings, which was less than what the major bus companies were charging. The pricing was almost the same considering that those bus companies actually took you to Kigali. We were only two people heading to Gatuna, with most other travelers stopping at Mbarara. I knew deep down that this bus wouldn't get to Gatuna Border, but what options did I have? I had no other option than to lock in. I don't know if it's the culture differences, but the driver and his assistant were not in it. They didn't even try to drive the speed limit. We stopped every few kilometers to drop and pick people up. Sometimes it would spend minutes negotiating with prospective passengers. I was beyond frustrated. I'd be frustrated on a normal day, but I was livid considering the circumstances. Once again, Uganda has wonderful views. The country is greener than I expected. I always imagined East Africa to be filled with sparse open lands and savannas with a few mountains here and there. It's also worth mentioning that the weather wasn't great. It left much to be desired, and it felt that everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Right on cue, it began raining cats and dogs. I got a window seat, and due to the leaks in the bus, I was drenched. Bro, it rained non-stop for hours, and the further we traveled, the harder it rained. I was cold, sad, frustrated, and this day couldn't get any worse. I must have spoken too soon because I immediately remembered that my luggage was on the roof and my clothes were in a woven bag. What an awful experience. You should click on the subscribe button to keep up with more poorly planned adventures across Africa. Like the video too. Thank you. It kept raining when we got to Mbarara. At this point, I was low-key dealing with hypothermia. We got on another bus and the waiting game began. It was only a few hours to my flight, but I was closer now. We once again waited for a long time for the bus to fill up. We resumed a sluggish drive while picking up and dropping people at intervals. At this point, I had given up on making the flight. You will never believe what happened next. When we got to Kabale, I was put on yet another bus. I had stopped filming at this point because I was over it. I didn't want to stay in East Africa any longer. No offense. The bus driver was a great guy and a stand-up citizen. We stopped in Kyonyo to drop some people when I saw a vehicle loading passengers to Kigali. It was past 10 p.m. at this point and I paid an exorbitant fee, somewhere between 20 to 30,000 Ugandan shillings. I cannot remember. I got the last seat and had to leave the nice Rwandese guy that was helping me. We got on the same bus and he just picked up that I needed help. I felt bad taking the last seat. We got to the Gatuna border around 10:30 p.m. and we crossed quickly. We were the only travelers crossing at this time. Gatuna is the best border I've ever experienced in Africa. The vehicle was overloaded and I did not care because we were finally in Rwanda. Around 11 p.m. I saw the first glimpse of Kigali's wall of lights. It was the most beautiful view ever because it meant that I would be going home today. I had time to spare, so I visited my friends in Kigali for a few minutes. To say I was happy to be in Rwanda would be the understatement. understatement of the year. I went through hell and came out scared but alive. My friend finally forced me to head to the airport around midnight and got me a motorcycle. We weren't far from the airport. I got to the airport, made this video in the bathroom, and we left early because everybody had checked in. Why wait for 2 more hours? You should click on the subscribe button to keep up with more poorly planned adventures across Africa. Like this video too. Thank you. The flight to Nairobi was uneventful. The onboard snack left much to be desired because I hadn't eaten all day. When we landed in Nairobi, I learned my flight to Lagos had been delayed. You can follow that flight by watching the video now.